I have potentially done a Tom Pemberton. I have mowed grass for Bales and there is rain arriving in the next 2 hours. But my bale man assures me he will be here in an hour and a half. So if he arrives on time and the rain arrives a little bit late, I should get the bales in dry. So that's the jeopardy part of this video. But the actual point of this video is about this. The Nitrates Action Plan, which was released by DAERA, the Northern Ireland Department of Agriculture. And I know a lot of my audience aren't from Northern Ireland, but believe me, this is going to apply to everyone. Because in this week's video, we are getting into the detail. And I am going to show you that governments lie. They misrepresent information and they mislead people. And this is the perfect example to show that. Anyway, first job for this morning, before we get into this, is to go get our bale lifters. To be clear, even if my bales get wet today, I am so glad to see this rain. We have been seriously dry here for the last 2 weeks. So much so that the grass growth has just stopped. I've actually had to bring my cows in at night again because I'm now that short of grass. This field which we baled 2 weeks ago is a great example. It was growing fantastically for a week and now it has just totally stopped. Right, let's go get these 2 lifters hooked on. We're using the same setup as the last day with the red Nugent on the back and the good Fleming with the 2 independent ones on the front. And to be clear, Nugent also make one of them lifters which has 2 independent lifts. And they have said they're going to get me one to try. Although I don't have time to organise that for today. But to Nugent, really appreciate the offer, really looking forward to trying it out. I do feel like I was a little bit harsh on your lifter in the last video. It worked, so it was fine. Oh, there's a hydraulic top link, but I don't need that. Although I could use that in the back. I might do that. Oh, that was close. So easy hooking stuff in the front because your link arms are fixed. Uh-oh. I've totally missed the one on the left. Oh no, oh for goodness sake. Got my bale lifters, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Hopefully there's not going to be too many bales, but honestly, I have no idea how many there could be. And if it gets soaked with the rain, I might end up with a couple of extra bales. It is currently just before 10 o'clock. Hopefully we'll be started baling in the next hour, hour and a half. But in the meantime, I'm going to head home to do some VAT books because I am 3 weeks behind on claiming my VAT. So I'll see you later on when we're actually lifting some bales. And then we will get into the detail of this document. And I will prove to you that civil servants make stuff up, which is really no surprise because basically everyone does it. Everyone just makes stuff up. The baler man has arrived. Still no rain, but it's looking very, very dodgy. The plan is as follows. I'm going to cart the bales home with the front and back lifters, 4 bales at a time, and we are going to use the JCB with a bale lifter on the front to stack them in pairs for me to lift. And then once he has them all put into pairs, I will continue carting them home, and he is then going to stack the bales here at the farm. Because honestly, I've now made so many bales, I'm running out of room. It has just started raining, like wetting my windshield. But the good news is that we already have half of it baled, so I think we're actually going to get away with this. You gotta love taking risks. Right, I am not lined up at all. Let's do a better job than that. If you're wondering why this field is such a mess, and it has lines through it and heaps of clay, this is a field that was taken for the A5. So we are not actually meant to cut this. We don't own this. And this is 100% organic grass because it got no slurry and no fertilizer because we haven't been allowed on this field since November. But the road service weren't going to use it, so I figured I may as well borrow the grass. Let's get a second bale on the front. Nicely done, nicely done. I am so much better at this. Oh, they are heavy bales. You can really feel the weight. Straight in. And lift. they'll not fall off. And David is going to put them all in pairs. So this should speed me up quite a bit. Okay, I'll head back to the farm with my first 4 bales. My first 4 free organic bales, which I am technically stealing from the government. I don't think there'll be that many. Maybe 30, 35 bales. Right, see you back at the farm, and then we'll chat about government policy and the NAP review. So I'm going to try my best to keep this structured, but there is so much information in my head about the Nutrient Action Plan proposals that it's going to be a struggle. And I also want to say that I might get some stuff wrong. I have done a lot of reading, I've read a lot of research papers, I've done a lot of digging, like several hours. But I am relying on my memory to not get figures mixed up, to not get confused. And I also want to differentiate between a 100% fact and my opinion or my sense of things. So where necessary, I will try and make it clear whether I could be wrong or this is definitely true. So let's get into it. Government action around nitrates began in 2002 because of concerns of nitrates in groundwater here in Northern Ireland. And what's meant to happen is every 4 or 5 years they do a review and see if they need to make any changes. And this consultation is for the 3rd or 4th Nitrates Action Plan. And it's already 3 years late. But here is the issue. This proposal was made by civil servants to fit our minister's objectives, which has resulted in a fundamentally flawed document. A document where they had to make the research fit the outcomes. So let's go through this document and I will demonstrate what I just said. That they came up with their outcomes and then adjusted the information to suit them outcomes. Their outcomes. I'm stopped at a red light and the field is literally right there. Oh my goodness. I don't know whether I'm angry because of that or because I'm talking about the Nitrates Action Program. So let's start with the basics. What has happened to water quality over the last 20 years? Nitrates and phosphorus levels have been declining. And nitrates levels have continued to decline. That's important, remember that point. But recently phosphate levels look like they're beginning to increase again. We'll get to why. Front bales loaded. But if you read the Nitrates Action Program, you would be forgiven for thinking that things are getting much worse. Next up, let's mention the fact that they want to ban urea fertilizer. Again, like I mentioned last week, they are using incorrect, misrepresented science to justify this ban. But it is actually even worse than that. The already incorrect research said that it would reduce ammonia emissions by up to 78.5%. But DERA has since changed that to an average of 78.5%. It's even in their PowerPoint presentation for this consultation. And they make the ridiculous claim that switching to protected urea is going to reduce ammonia emissions by 70%. That figure is absolute nonsense. Again, they want to ban urea fertilizer, so they have manipulated and misrepresented research and data to justify it. Next up, we have a big one, which is their drive for biogas from AD. This policy spans a lot of different areas, from phosphates and nitrates to ammonia to greenhouse gas reductions. But it is my opinion, so again, this is not a known fact, it's my opinion, that they are trying to use the Nitrates Action Program and phosphate balances to push their biomethane agenda. And the reason for that biomethane agenda relates back to their climate change proposals. Their vision for Northern Ireland is to convert a lot of the farmers that they're going to force out of business into supplying a feedstock for biomethane through AD. If there is no transfer of phosphorus to the solids, as a farmer, there is no reason for me to separate my slurry if I need to export phosphorus off my farm. It would be more economical for me just to ship the slurry off the farm. But they need me to pay for the separation because they want me to bear the costs of all of this. The economics of feeding slurry solids into an AD plant are already incredibly shaky. They essentially cannot afford to pay a penny for it. They have to get the slurry solids separated for them and delivered to them for free at the expense of us dairy farmers. So without the justification of separating the slurry on the farms because then you're exporting more phosphorus, their entire scheme falls apart, which is why they were willing to lie about it. I will do a full video at some point on biomethane and really get into the details, but trust me on this, we do not want it in this country. It is simply designed to replace family farms with large multi-million pound businesses. It is definitely raining at this point. But we're nearly done. We've just them few swathes on the right hand side to go. The grass will still be bone dry, thankfully. There is so much that I could say about the Nitrates Action Plan. There is so many aspects of it which are just ridiculous. From the proposal to ban all phosphorus fertilizer, despite the fact that it is the increased phosphorus in feed which has caused phosphorus in waterways to begin to rise. The suggestion of a P balance for every single intensive dairy farm, which is laughably low. If I was to comply with the regulations in their current form, I would have to get rid of 50% of my animals. And that's just not me saying that, that is people like AgriSearch agreeing with that. And I am a grazing herd. So most intensive dairy farms are going to be worse than me. In this document, there is a suggestion that in future they are going to seek the same legal powers as the police, so they can fine me without a trial. If I get rid of my single farm payment, they can still fine me without due process. That is insane. Oh dear, I need four-wheel drive. It's been a while since I needed four-wheel drive. I've only done 12 bales. This is going to take forever. Oh my goodness. To be fair to McHale, they may make terrible mowers, but they do make great balers. Every bale they make is rock solid. Okay, I think I've ranted for long enough. Believe me, I could go on a lot longer. I'm way in the middle of the road and there's loads of cars coming. Can't really see to get out. So let me provide you with some alternatives. If I was in DERA, what would I do? Suggestion number 1. Instead of banning urea fertilizer, based on your assumption that every single farmer using it is spreading it during dry weather, how about we copy the tobacco industry? Print on the urea bags how much urea you will lose if you spread it in the wrong conditions. Believe me, farmers are so tight, not a single one of them is going to spread urea in dry weather if they understand that they could lose £100 a tonne of their precious nitrogen. You're aligning the environmental benefit with the economic benefit, and you're reducing the ammonia emissions potential from urea without completely breaking the fertilizer industry here in Northern Ireland. Sticking on fertilizer, suggestion number 2. Instead of your proposed outright ban on phosphorus fertilizer, remove phosphorus from blends and compounds. My dad used to be a huge fan of sowing 2744, and you could not have told him that he didn't need to sow that phosphorus. But my dad would also never have paid for a product like diammonium phosphate, which is £600 a tonne. The people who are misusing phosphorus fertilizer are doing it out of convenience and habit. So if you restrict the sales of the products which fit that category, you remove that issue. But people like me who understand my nutrient management and know where I need phosphorus will still have access to diammonium phosphate or blends like 17-17-17, which are necessary for reseeding feeds. A smart suggestion which won't negatively impact the people who actually understand what they're doing. And that option also removes the need for an incredibly bureaucratic fertilizer register, because no one is going to pay £600 a tonne for a fertilizer they do not need. You are aligning farmers' financial interests with the environmental interests. If you ban phosphorus fertilizer, we are just going to end up in a situation where I have to buy it off paramilitary organisations. How is that a good idea? My next suggestion. Provide water quality data to the farmers whose land is around the rivers and lakes. I have no idea what the water quality is in the river that is at the bottom of my farm. And if I did know what the water quality was, and I did know there was an issue, I would be more careful. I would take more steps to reduce pollution. And it's not to say that I don't try and reduce pollution. I'm just saying, if there is an issue, I'm not aware of it. And the way I see this working is that farmers might have an app which gives them the results for water quality samples in their local area. The data is only released to farmers and it's only for a small area. And following on from that, if there is pollution hotspots, target them areas and use a carrot and a stick approach. Maybe provide some capital investment to build extra slurry storage, but at the same time carry out more inspections in that area to find the source of the issue. How is that not an obvious solution if there is pollution coming from agriculture in Northern Ireland? If farmers in an area are going to face tighter regulations and more inspections because they have one bad neighbour, believe me, that bad neighbour is going to know about it. And it won't be long before he is totally shunned by his neighbours and probably being reported by his neighbours. That is such a smart suggestion, I cannot fathom why it's not done. And my final suggestion in relation to what should happen in NAP is involve farmers. Despite what the eco-warriors within DAERA must believe, 99% of farmers want to improve water quality. They are just not being given the information or the tools to do so. A prime example for me is that I legally cannot get planning permission to build any more slurry storage. But if I had more slurry storage, I could hang on to my slurry longer, I could make better use of it, I could make sure I'm not having to spread my slurry in a wet February. It is simple things like that which will actually make a big difference. Right, I've only done 12 bales, in large part because I've been making this video. So we're going to leave this week's video here. But I'm going to end it with a cautionary note. And this again is my opinion, not a fact. But I am increasingly convinced that there is people in government who genuinely want rid of family farms. They see a better use case for our land, whether that is through big business or through net zero targets. And if we as farmers don't stand up for this industry and start to fight back, our children will not get the same opportunity that we had. My son will not have a farm to take over. Instead, the land will be sold or rented to giant AD plants that will totally change our countryside forever. So hopefully this video helped. Hopefully some of you find this interesting. I know it's very heavy on the information. I know it's a lot of me talking. My son will be very annoyed with me. He always asks for more drone footage and tractors and less talking in my videos. But this stuff matters. It really, really matters. And no one is going to fight against this other than us farmers. There is the final of 2 public consultations on the NAP proposals in Caffrey at Greenmount on Thursday at 2 p.m. If you're a farmer and you can make it, I will be there. It is going to be worth attending. And you'll get to watch the people who wrote this squirm when they're challenged by actual farmers. I don't know about you, but I'm excited about seeing that. I am finally finished drawing the bales back home. That took 3 hours, but we have a serious stack of bales. Thanks very much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. If you have any comments, stick them down below, and if you haven't yet subscribed, I would highly recommend it. I'll see you next week. I can't believe I managed to make bales in the first rain that we had in 4 weeks.